Hello to everyone out there in video land. This is Arthur, screenwriter and short filmmaker Dewey B. Reynolds. Now in this video that I am making right now, it is entitled My Father, the Gangster. Well, of course, you know my name is Dewey B. Reynolds. My middle name is Boyd. My father's name was Gordon McCoyd Reynolds. And he was known as Mac, and by some of his nieces and nephews, he was known as Uncle Mac. He was of Irish descent, and he was born in 1905. And he was involved with a lot of crime, not only in Kansas City, Missouri, but basically everywhere. He was involved with crime clearly across the United States. Now, I would like to show you a picture of my father, a police mugshot. And believe me, he does fit the profile of a criminal. Let me show you. This is my father, Gordon McCoyd Reynolds, upon one of his many arrests. That's a police mugshot of him when he was arrested for running what is called a bawdy house. A bawdy house was like a good time house where there were drugs and prostitution and liquor and gambling and cigarettes and drugs, you name it. It was just everything you could think of, it was there. And not only was he doing this by himself, but he was also doing it with my mother, who was also involved with the bawdy house. She was responsible for checking on the whores in the house, and she was responsible for selling liquor, selling cigarettes, maybe even drugs. Let me show you a police mugshot, or rather a police photograph of my mother and father upon being arrested together for operating this bawdy house. This right here is a photo of my mother and father upon their arrest for operating one of these bawdy houses. And of course they were involved in all facets of crime. Matter of fact, they had two houses like that where they were involved in a lot of vice. My father pretty much never reached the level of a big time gangster, but he did do a lot of things that would pretty much put him in the position of being maybe a local gangster, somewhat a national gangster, but never of the stature of like a Al Capone or a Lucky Luciano or a John Gotti or Carlo Gambino or Vito Genovese or Santo Trafficante or Carlos Marcello. He never reached that level, but he pretty much only reached a certain level, and then that was it. He was cut off. He made money as a criminal, but I don't think he really made too much money. And I believe every time he was arrested and did time in jail, he got out and he went right back to a life of crime. And from what I read in documentation upon his life, that he never worked a job a day in his life. Crime was his life. Crime was all that he knew, and that's all he wanted to know. And why my father ended up like that, I don't know, but he was a gangster. He had ties with a lot of Italians and a few Irish and maybe a few Jewish gangsters. But he definitely did some leg work for like the Sabella family in Kansas City. He did some leg work for the Camasanos, maybe the Bonadanas, I don't know. But I know some of these names are mentioned in these police narratives of his rap sheet, which he built up a pretty long rap sheet. Believe me, like long. Matter of fact, let me kind of go over some of the crimes that he was involved with over the years. Okay, in 1924, he used the alias name of Harvey Albert Moore. The charge was suspended felony in vice. Okay. Then in 1925, he was arrested in Santa Ana, California for involved in vice activity out there. In 1932, he was arrested for burglary and larceny, and He was also arrested for robbery, in which he did 10 years in the Missouri State Penitentiary. Then in 1938, he was arrested for highway robbery and for some traffic violations. Okay. Then in 1938, also he was arrested again for burglary and larceny. Okay. In 1944, he was arrested for drunken and resisting arrest. In 1944, he was also convicted of gas rationing, which he was stealing a lot of gas rationing coupons, which was very much a racket that the mafia had courtesy of. They would steal gas ration coupons and sell them on the black market and for an enormous markup, and they would make a lot of money for that. Okay, his illegal possession of gas ration coupons got him 18 months in the Federal Correctional Institution in Texarkana, Texas. He spent time there in Texarkana, which he was stealing the gas ration coupons in Dallas, Texas. Okay, and then in 1955, he was arrested for cashing bogus checks and stealing checks and trying to cash them illegally. Okay. In 1962, he was investigated for prostitution activities in which he was a procurer. I guess you could say he was a pimp. He was pimping women. Okay. And also in 1964, he was arrested again for vice activity. He used alias names such as Harvey Albert Moore, James Moore, David Moore. He was very good at using alias names. In 1965, he was arrested again for investigation of federal vice activities. Wow, what a rap sheet. Crime was all that he knew. He knew nothing else but crime. Alrighty, now, let me read this to you. It says about him. Investigator McGarvey has received a KC-81 from caseworker Clark Asifo, indicating that he would like a summary of the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department record on a Gordon Reynolds for purpose of report to the Jackson County Juvenile Court. Information is needed, a copy of the dates and disposition of any serious offenses when the subject has been charged and incarcerated. A check of the record of Bureau of the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department revealed the following information to Investigator McGarvey. The above name, Gordon Reynolds, is an alias. The true subject's name, according to the Record Bureau, is James Moore. He goes by an alias of Gordon, middle name McCoyd, and last name Reynolds. The individual is recorded under the name of James Moore, ex-convict, born in Missouri in 8/29/05. White male, 5'7", 185 pounds. Shows an address of 30005, which was at the north end of Kansas City. This subject's file card shows 42 previous arrests prior to 7/5/64 in Kansas City for investigation of highway robbery, vice activities, drunk traffic violations, investigation of prostitution activity, speeding, failing to appear in court, disturbing the peace, and bench warrant. On 7/5/64, he was arrested for an improper turn. Did not appear on 7/27/64. Arrested for failing to yield. Did not appear. 9/24. Arrested for failure to appear. 11/18/64. Arrested for investigation of vice activities. Released by Vice Squad 11/13 of 1964. Apparently went to court and was fined. He appealed this 11/23/64. Pled guilty. Paid a $50 fine. And costs on all three charges involving investigation of vice. No doubt was charged with procuring, keeping a bawdy house, and renting rooms for immoral purposes. On 12/24/64, a judgment of commitment was issued for the subject for failure to appear on an appeal. Information to caseworker. This subject record is so extensive, it would be impossible for all these reports for what information is already given. And the following information has to do with requests for any charges where the subject has been incarcerated. This subject was sentenced to 10 years in the Missouri State Penitentiary for robbery in 1932. He was sentenced to 18 months in the Federal Prostitution in Texarkana, Texas for illegal possession of gas ration coupons. Cash and bogus, he spent 3.5 to 5 years in Phoenix, Arizona for cash and bogus checks in 1955. The subject has been found in company with known prostitutes and is a procurer and apparently makes his living in any way that is illegal. No occupations have ever been given for this subject, and any further information that can be given through the casework on the subject, if asked for, will be obtained immediately. This is the history of my father's criminal career. I guess maybe considered to be somewhat of an illustrious criminal career, but he never did succeed at being a very profitable or prosperous criminal. He would do petty crimes or do somewhat crimes on a higher level, but he would always get caught by the police, and he would always end up in jail for his vice activities and for his criminal involvement. So I just wanted to make this video to kind of talk about my father, the criminal, and he was a gangster. And he pretty much went after whatever he wanted when it came to the criminal lifestyle. And wow, his story is quite amazing. I'd really like to tell it maybe in literature form or in book form one day. Thank you for watching.